the Auric waves class has to do with the functions of the aura. And so it's all the body's processes. It's like the movement, the physiological processes, but also emotionally, mentally processes. It's tied to also the generation of lower emotion. And so, there is I think there's 16 or 17 different lower emotions that we go through and address in the Auric Waves class. And it's not about like going through and unwinding things from the past. It's about, if they're being overly stimulated or hyperreactive and generating like say anger or something like this or anxiety. It's a way to like kind of calm those things down. But it's all about the movement of energy through all the different structures in the body and then the physiological processes. And so there's basically you divide it up into four. There's an aspect associated with the like what you would call like the dream aura. Like, this is a subclass of functions of the aura or the auric waves. Is there's a aspect that's associated with the dream aura, then there's like a pain aura, and then there's like a primal or primitive part of the aura, and then there's a mental reflective aura. So the the dream aura has a lot to do with processing, especially like during sleep or the intuitive part of the mind. So it's tied to learning, it's tied to innovating, it's tied to like breaking out of patterns, um, uh, like insight, realization, things of this nature. And then the pain aura is pretty much like what you would think. It has to do with your responses to pain, how you process pain, be it physical, emotional, mental, but also there's a kind of pain that I refer to as like karmic pain. And that's just like the pain associated with like particular patterns in our life that cause us suffering or that are repetitive, no matter how much we change or break out of things, they're just always there. And so this could be like the way people treat you. There could be things that just keep happening over and over again. It could be like disappointments that consistently happen, say in the workplace or in the family or in a relationship. Those aspects. Then the primal part is, or primitive part, is things that got initiated like at the in the beginning, like uh, it's usually your first experience with something. A lot of this has to do with things that happened in our childhood. And, like say you have something bad happen and you go, well, life is like this. Life is, you know, things are always hard or, whatever it is. Then your aura keeps processing and putting that like in motion. And so it's a way to break up those old primitive patterns that got set forward in the early stages of a situation or in our life, right? So basically, like when we have an experience, especially something that has a strong emotion or has a lot of repetitive thinking associated with it, what starts to happen is your part of your energy body just starts reproducing it. Doesn't judge it as good or bad, it just starts reproducing it. So we go through and we unwind that aspect so we can reboot it. And then mental reflective is tied to basically kind of conflict. Could be conflict in one's own mind between intuition and intellect. But even when you are taking something forth in an intuitive mind or intuitive way, you're learning, you're innovating, there's still even externally a pushback from intellect, from people, but just also from nature. And so it's a way to go through and harmonize this aspect between intuition and intellect. And so it is the second aspect of the aura, the first part being the structure. This is the function, which is the auric waves. And then it just goes deeper in like how emotions are generated, how to treat the emotions, how your physiology works, how to stimulate that so that the body heals faster, moves through whatever it's going to go through. And you're basically bringing light into the blood, and you're bringing a spiritual energy into the blood. And so that's how the physiology is shifting. And so
You might be touching on that already. They said, I got excited when Greg mentioned the alchemical blood oils. Could you talk more about that or what they do?
yeah, the alchemical blood oils, we've worked with the blood oils in some other classes, and that is setting like a positive pattern with the normal blood oils. There's four basic aspects, and those four aspects are the things that I just described, like what you would call the dream aura, the pain aura, the primal aura, and the mental reflective aura. And so different ways of talking about those four aspects, but if you boil them down, that's what you're talking about. So the alchemical, anytime we do something where it says like the alchemical planet, or here it's the alchemical blood oils, you're not fortifying the positive part, you're actually purifying the impure aspects of these four. And so, at first, when we go through and work on in previous classes, we're just getting used to it. We're setting a pattern. We're trying to fortify what's already there in the working material in the energy body that we can work with. But this is like going and unwinding so more light comes in. You're basically shifting from like an impure light to bringing in more of pure light. And like the thing that I was saying the other day, I think it was over the weekend, at a start we have this affirmation where we say, we're surrounded by the pure white light, only good comes to me, only good goes for me. You notice we don't just say we're surrounded by light, we say surrounded by the pure light, right? Because there is different kinds of light, and there is an impure light or a darker light that is associated with manifesting things that are negative. And so we're shifting out of this aspect of the impure light. And here we're looking at four kinds of impure light, and then shifting more into forming the pure white light. And so by going through and doing this process, you're adding more light to the body, to the blood, which fuels your physiology. Like your physiology is driven by a kind of gasoline, like a kind of energy or light that drives it. And so if it's filled with the impure light, then the physiology is driven in a way that directly corresponds. And then if you purify it and you start running like a more pure light, the physiology like improves, the emotions improve, everything kind of improves a bit. And you're starting to dissipate things that cause your suffering. Here you're looking at the suffering as being physiological issues, the body degenerating, how you process things in the dream aura, how you react to pain in the pain aura, still being held hostage by those primal patterns that we keep duplicating over and over again from our first experiences. Like say you go to school, your first day at school, and you have a bad experience, and it's very emotional. You just keep duplicating that bad experience over and over again in different situations. And so it's like you go into a new situation and you got one foot in the new situation and one foot in the old situation. So it's a way to break out of that pattern. And then the mental reflective is, you could call it like how the intuition and intellect kind of play with each other, but it's tied to certain aspects of what you would call psychosomatic issues. And so, like a lot of times stress will magnify a problem in the body, or strong emotions will magnify an aspect in the body where we might already have a weakness, but the stress or the emotions make it worse. And so we want to dissipate that as much as possible. And so by going through and working the Auric waves and the alchemical blood oils, that's what we're working. And we're doing it, we're doing the Auric waves with the alchemical oils, but we also followed it with some kind of fancy body tonics that are going to be like a complement to the process. So it makes you much stronger, much deeper.